Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on a busy Wednesday morning. Kindred's Abby Ducher will join us in about a half hour, talk about her sensational sophomore year down at Alabama. Story we've been following for the better part of a year came to fruition yesterday. Officially announced out of the Frontier Conference that they will expand, adding 4 new schools. Mayville State, Valley City State, along with Bellevue and Dakota State will be joining the league for the 2025-26 school year. Dickinson State had already made its intentions known back in December that the Blue Hawks are going to be joining the league, making 11 full-time members. Of course, the North Star is dissolving after this upcoming year, so those schools needed a home, and the Frontier will be it. Our pleasure to welcome back to our program Mayville State head football coach Rocky Larson joins us this morning to discuss how this is going to affect football, because football is always we talk about on this show. But most importantly, I'm curious on, because I think travel is always number one. So, and you were telling me off air, you're on the committee on scheduling. So how did this all come about, and how is this going to work going forward?
Yeah, and I think this all started when we got together in Kansas City about a month ago at the NAIA National Convention, and we sat down and everyone put out exactly what we needed to make this work. And I think it's publicly known, we were looking at some NCAA options, Division III, Division II, and we were ready to go that way if this meeting went to happen in Kansas City. And football was a big piece of it. Is, hey, we can't afford to go to College of Idaho. We can't afford to go to Arizona Christian. We can't afford to go to Southern Oregon. There was conversation of maybe you go play Southern Oregon on a Saturday and Eastern Oregon on a Thursday, and you stay out there the whole week. And so we've done some really creative scheduling ideas. But once we got the biggest part of the football schedule is who was in, and now that we have Valley City, Dakota State, Dickinson, we can keep the rivalries going. One thing that we put out as Mayville State is, hey, we only want to take one flight every other year, or one flight a year to go to those Arizona Christian, Southern Oregons. And if we can limit our trips to Montana to 1 or 2 a year at most, or every other, we thought it was doable. And we set out a number for an athletic department, serving as the interim athletic director. And we wanted to be less than 7 trips a year to Montana for all our sports. And if we could do that, we think we could have made the budget. And so far, everything's trending that way.
How tenuous was this, Rocky, over the last year, knowing the North Star was dissolving, of trying to make sure you guys had a league?
I was in meetings with our president every day, and that's not an exaggeration. That was, sometimes we're in 2-3 hour meetings a day. I would miss practice in the fall because we were getting ready to we knew this was coming, and the stability of a small North Dakota college would be, we have to have our athletic programs in a conference so we can continue to offer athletics. That was priority number one.
Right.
And our president, Van Horn, did a great job of meeting with different Division II, Division III. We met with 7 different conferences over the last 7-8 months to really find a home, and this came together. But this was probably the most stressful thing I've had to do in my career so far, but we're really happy where it landed.
So did you have a chance? I know the guys aren't really around. Have you had a chance to tell the team, or the reaction from some of the members of the team about what's to come?
I think our kids were just excited that we get to continue to play football, and we're not playing Dickinson State twice every year.
Okay.
We're not playing Valley City twice every year. We get to play some different people. We get to travel to different corners, and we get to have that educational experience. So the reception I've had from our kids so far is very positive. They understand that we're going to need to be on a bus a little bit longer. But, some of those best memories of when you look back to your college days are those long road trips and a couple days out of class and being with your teammates. So far, it's been really positive.
For those trips to Montana, do you envision maybe leaving on a Thursday? Would that probably be in the cards?
Oh, yeah. We've already started planning what it would look like, and I think the most positive thing about this that really hasn't been explained yet is that football is going to be east and west, and if you look at a map, the logistical one would say Rocky Mountain should come east and Montana State Northern Havre, and then maybe one more. We played in Havre this year, so we've made that trip already.
What is
we
that?
Are playing some of those.
How long was that?
9.5.
Oh, boy.
9.5 hours, and our bus got broke down, so we were out there for an extra 2 days.
Awesome.
But we've already made some of those trips non-conference wise. So the conversation is leaving Thursday after school. And I know Mike Zier has already volunteered to host us for dinner at his
Of
place
course he
and
did.
practice at Beach. So we're going to take him up on that. And I'm going to make sure we're on public record. We will practice
He
at Beach once or
watches,
twice during this.
he watches the show, so I have no doubt on that. But that's an important distinction, though, to have the division piece of this, because then you're guaranteed, whatever it is, if it's 5 or 6 games, and then you're only making 2 or 3 against the other division.
Absolutely, and that's the big part. And we're still going to be able to schedule 2 or 3 non-conference games.
Excellent,
and that's something that's important for us at Mayville State. When we have the Minnesota schools, the Iowa schools, the South Dakota schools, we can still get some non-conference local games to save some money, so we can make a regional trip to non-regional to Arizona Christian or Southern Oregon once every other year to get a crossover conference game. So the thought process by Scott Crawford, the commissioner of the Frontier, and his vision of what he sees the football schedule is what makes this even doable to get us to this point.
Were the North Star schools kind of in lockstep together, Rocky? Was this something where you guys all were together, or did you have to do some arm twisting to get everybody on board?
I think internally we were all together, but no one would come out and say we were all together. So it was always, who did you talk to and who did you talk to? And until that piece of paper was signed that we were all going to the Frontier, we all would say the right things to each other, but behind closed doors, we all were doing what was best for each school. At Dennis at Valley City, us at, and I'm really glad, because if Valley City or Dakota State or Dickens, one of us didn't go, we'd be playing everyone. Yeah. And we wouldn't have the East-West. And the East-West was so vital in football to get us. And I think the other big point of this is baseball, softball. That was the biggest holdup of this whole Frontier was, could we have baseball? Baseball, 44 conference championships here at Mayville State. Scott Berry, that is a proud tradition that we had to solve. And for the Frontier to come out yesterday and say they will have baseball, softball in 25 and 26, that's a huge commitment from the Frontier, and that was probably one of the final steps that made this go.
I know that was maybe not necessarily a holdup, but I know people were wondering, okay, well, the Frontier doesn't sponsor baseball and softball, but the commissioner said that's going to start in 25 and 26.
That was a holdup.
Yeah.
That was a big holdup.
Yeah.
And that was some of the last negotiating as we put this together is, hey, we're going to get to 12 football teams, so we have 2 AQs, but we need to have baseball, softball, because those are big on our campus, and softball's got a proud tradition. And obviously what Scott Berry built and Billy Tomlin, that's a big number on our campus.
So I know for football fans here, they know Carroll College, but give us the in-depth. What kind of league are you getting into? What kind of teams are you going to be playing now on a regular basis?
We were joking about it in a staff meeting. It's going to feel like the Big Ten. Like, we're going to have an East Division. We're going to have a West Division. We're going to have physical football. I mean, we've played those Montana schools. They are talented. They are physical. They're going to come right at you. You look at what Dickinson went out and beat Montana Tech in a really close game in the playoffs. They played Rocky Mountain every year. And Dickinson's the staple of our league.
Right.
And to see them, they play really tight football games out there. We're going to have to improve our roster. We're going to have to improve our facilities. Everything about what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to improve. But I think that's the exciting part of this, Tom, is that we have something. We were kind of been the last 10 months. We've had no clue what are we doing. Yeah. And, if we would have went NCAA, we might have needed to add soccer. Well, if we had soccer, we can't improve what we currently have. So now that we have a firm home and exactly what we're going to do, we can really start to put our fundraising efforts to how to build some of these programs. And football is something, and I'm not just saying this because I'm the football coach, but we're going to have to make some big improvements to our roster and our facilities to get us to where we need to be.
And that was my next question. So I know you want to hit this area really hard recruiting wise. Does this mean you got to go to different areas of where you're playing now? Do you have to expand your recruiting base?
It doesn't make sense. We've had this discussion. This has been a discussion for 6 months as part of, you're hitting all the stuff that was really important for us is, do we have to go to Wyoming? Do we have to go to Montana? And, we start going over to Montana. We're going to fight the schools we're playing. Going over to Minnesota for a family to drive now to watch a conference game is 12 hours. It's moms and dads are going to have to take Thursday, Friday, Monday off to be able to watch their kid play an away game. That's the downside of us going out there. The positive is, hey, we get to continue to play college football in the NAI. We get to continue to offer athletic scholarships. We get to play in a stable league. Those are the positives, but we're going to have to change our recruiting base naturally just because of where we play. So parents and grandparents can be able to come watch Johnny come play a football on a Saturday afternoon.
I just look here. You are 99 days out from the opener, and you're playing a future conference team with Montana State Northern coming in for your opener. Just is that maybe the best way to preview what's to come for your league and for you?
Great, yeah, that is, and that was not intentional. That contract was signed 3 years ago, so it's kind of we get to open our year this year with a Frontier school, and we get to take a shot at them, and we're really looking forward to that. And I think the one thing that we don't want to miss in all this is the last year of the North Star. We want to go out, and if you win a North Star title in women's basketball, men's basketball, whatever it might be, hey, you win the last title. You have the last one. Yeah. And that's a really important deal. And that's something I've been getting across to our coaches is, hey, this Frontier stuff's really cool in 25, 26, but let's focus on right now, and let's make sure we go out in the North Star and we give everything we got for this year.
Before I let you go, did you sleep well then last night? Was that the first, it's over and done with?
I got a 2-year-old and a 9-month-old at home, so I don't know if I ever sleep well, Dom. But I'll tell you, I slept better than normal because there was many conversations that happened after midnight with this president said this, or this AD said this, or this school is going Division II, and now all of a sudden we have the paper signed and we can finally talk about it publicly. It made it a lot better to be able to come to work this morning and look at the coaches in the eyes and say, hey, we have a home. Yeah. We've signed an agreement. College athletics in Mayville State are here to stay, and we're going to continue to build on our rich tradition.
It's always great to see you, bud. I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
And we make sure when that thing happens with Zier, we'll get that. We'll get some cameras out there for that, all right?
Hey, make sure I'm holding him to that. He tweeted it out, and I've got a screenshot of it, so he can't get rid of it. So the Comets will be coming to beach to practice. So
appreciate the time, and congratulations.
Absolutely.
And have a good summer, all right?
You got it. Sounds good. See ya.
Rocky Larson, head coach at Mayville State, joining us this morning. And again, on the news that the Frontier Conference is expanding. Eric, I don't know if you have time to dig up the map we used yesterday, but the divisional part of this is important, obviously, for what he's talking about, because travel is out. I mean, 9 hours just to have her for a regular season game. That is a large commitment. This is not, you're not hopping on planes. You're not hopping on jets to go every week like North Dakota State and North Dakota do. And this is where the league now will sit. And that's why it was so important to have Valley City, Dakota State, and Bellevue come. Now, Bellevue does not sponsor football, but you look at the majority of the league, and this is football only. You've got the Arizona Christian School. You got the 2 schools in Oregon, and the rest based in Montana, that if you're playing, let's just say, 11-game regular season, you have 8 conference games, you have 5 in the division, and you leave yourself with 3 non-conference. Okay, then you've got a couple of trips. That is doable. Now, beyond football, the basketball part, that's I think the sticky wicket on that, because you're not going to play every game against the teams directly in your area. You're going to have to go and play teams in Montana. Now, granted, the Oregon schools and the Arizona schools, those are affiliates for football only. They do not play basketball in the Frontier. So those are going to be some tough trips in wintertime. Not going to be ideal, but neither is not having a league. If it's between not having a league and going in this one, this is their best option, and at least they've got some travel partners to do it with. Hello, Summit League. Are you listening? We'll take a break. We come back. We'll wrap up hour 1. Abby Ducher on deck. Kindred sensation, Alabama softball player. We'll start hour 2 as we roll on a Wednesday morning. We're back after this.